evening and welcome to Horror. I'm Lee.
I'm Chris.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Jennifer. Woo!
Yay!
We have Jennifer on the video feed for the first time.
Unless it's cutting me out, as we've discussed. So maybe
this must be an exciting film.
Well, it was. It certainly was. No spoilers as yet. A couple of bits of housekeeping before we kick off. We wanted a big congratulations right up top. Previous guest to the show, Dr. Dean, and his good lady had a baby at 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
Congratulations.
So congratulations to them. Everybody's well. Everyone's doing good. Hey!
And celebrating, yes.
Cheers.
I had to open the pizza last night just to celebrate it. So I'm finishing it off this evening.
Good for you.
It's important.
I am doing a dry January thing, so I have lots of bottles of sparkling water. So that once I finish drinking the first one, I can use the others to collect my tears about the fact that I'm not drinking beer this evening. But
I was going to say, is that why you're so grumpy?
I'm always grumpy. I'm just works.
This will cheer you up, though.
Oh, it's Brewdog.
Hey!
Yeah.
Shout out to Brewdog.
So
Everyone buy Brewdog. It's great.
So that's a few quid for you as well. No for
Hey.
shareholders.
Thank you.
If we ever see any money.
We'll never see any money.
No.
If you're getting free beer, who needs money?
That is true.
This is what I said. Secondly, we'd like to put a big thank you out from myself, Lady Jennifer, and Chris. Sorry, Adam, nothing personal, but you were there. To listeners to the show, Dave and Tracy, for hosting us for a splendid Boxing Day.
Hey.
It was wonderful, and they are listeners. So we thought we would go online and say thank you during the episode.
And who won the quiz in the end? Because you were doing quite well, weren't you, Lee?
The quiz.
My team came second.
We were drunk.
Yeah,
Clearly.
Well, you seem to be
Were
answering
you on my
quite a lot.
team?
No, I was on the team with John.
Then you won then.
I think we did.
You won, we came second.
I think we
Two teams.
I think we went outside and smoked cigars when we came back in the game had finished. Didn't actually know what was happening, but it was a good game.
It was. No horror though, unfortunately. No Christmas horror. Maybe we should write our own round for next year.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, as it's been 3 weeks since we all last met, everyone's done lots of homework. Look at that green on that face. So, Chris, what is looking like a guilty schoolboy? What have you watched?
That's just my default look. Hold on, I was going to try and do my Rutger Hauer piece. The things I've seen, you people wouldn't believe. Anyway, I've watched that several times because it's good to be reminded of that scene.
Yeah,
every so often. So I've done a few different things which I'm quite excited about. So I wanted to show this because we're on a visual medium now. So I got this from a rather wonderful person for Christmas, who I don't know if he's actually got my reciprocal gift.
Not as yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, you've got that excitement to come.
Nice.
But yeah, so this was a great trip down memory lane. The World of the Unknown Ghosts. By Usborne.
Is it Usborne? Yeah.
Yeah, and Usborne do some great stuff, and this is one of them. Now, it made me realise, and I don't know if you can see it here, because I can't quite see, but I decided that's Noel Fielding. So I realised I'd seen him somewhere from my childhood when he cropped up again in a similarly strange sort of situation in the Mighty Rouge.
He'd like that.
Yeah. But yeah, so this was great because I think this is what taught me about poltergeists. Don't remember hearing of them before that. The types of ghosts of long ago, how to spot a ghost.
Yes, the mongoose.
Hold on. Just the mongoose.
Oh, no, also I realised I did read on the back that it says, whatever you do, do not transmit this by any means. So I wondered, this could be a good yardstick for us. if we get a takedown notice from Usborne, we're doing something right.
10%. You can do 10% of a thing, and that's allowed. So don't
Is
do
it?
any
Oh,
more.
all right. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I missed half of it then.
There you go.
But yeah, so there's some great stuff in
Technically,
here.
it's advertising.
Yes.
Haven't been paid.
And it's forward by Reece Shearsmith as well, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Which,
I'm
yeah.
assuming he didn't do it originally.
No.
No, as he would have been.
Our age-ish.
It did.
Yeah, I think it came out in the 70s.
I did read that.
So
Yes. Yeah. In fact, 1977. A good year.
7?
yeah.
Wow.
A vintage year, that one.
Not
You
as
know
good
that's
as
not our
78.
year, though.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
It was the year we conceived, darling, probably.
Ew.
Yes.
So the other thing that I remembered a lot of was Doppelganger. Can you see that
Yeah.
Doppelganger?
Yeah.
Because that was another first for me, learning what a doppelganger was, and that freaked me out pretty good. And then
was it from the book, or was it you actually
an
met your
actual-
doppelganger? And just
I'm looking forward to that experience. It will be horrible. Yeah, and it was also in a game I used to play on the Spectrum called Feud. I don't know if Jennifer remembers that. No, you were a sorcerer. Now, I was going to read this out briefly because this is another little horror thing, but I've lost it. So anyway, you're a sorcerer.
you certainly have.
Yeah, who you had to go around collecting plants and making potions and trying to beat your brother, and you could zombify the local villagers. Yeah. So yeah, that was great fun, and that also had doppelganger in it, so didn't match that. And then I've also watched Tigers Are Not Afraid, which I thought was fantastic, and it reminded me. So I think it had the style of, I would say, sort of like Pan's Labyrinth. It's sort of a strange
Fairy
mythology. Tale? Fairy tale. Like, so strange mixing with reality, but it's not quite clear exactly what's happening. And what was the other film? Which I think Bobby mentioned, which was City of God. So it's quite gritty, but with children. I don't remember children.
Have you watched City of God?
I did a very long time ago. I remember that being very hard hitting.
But it is kids. It's like
is it?
It's
okay.
Gang warfare. But it's like. But
I thought they were a bit older,
like sort of
teenager.
No, they're about like
they are younger.
They're sort of. I mean, I remember the main kid you remember is like the sort of villain of the piece, and he's about 9.
Okay.
I think they're all sort of like just teen.
And just starting to get into gang.
Yeah, and it's sort of like it's quite sort of alarming that it's that young.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. So
it's a
that was
cracking
good.
film.
Yeah. So that was my first taste of Shudder as well.
Oh.
So, and I found a few more on there that I've lined up. So hopefully I'll be working through those. And then this might be controversial, maybe. It depends how much I'll upset Lee with it. But I've now watched Harry Potter 1, 2, and 3 because they're about as horror as Shelley is willing to watch. And it turns out I think there is actually, I don't think the kids are ready to watch them yet. They are, I think third or fourth one is
a lot of suspense and thriller in them.
Yeah.
You like them?
I like them.
So I thought, Lee quite liked them. Now, Adam, I think you're not a big fan, are you?
I've not seen them. So
No, well,
I've not seen them, and I've not read the books. I just sort of like.
Wait until Ted's old enough, then he will.
Oh, I'm bound to see it then at some point. But yeah, I think
so
it was just
quite put off. It
wasn't aimed at me at the time, so I didn't follow through.
Yeah.
But
I can definitely see how it's people have really liked it because it is a very accessible way to see this sort of magic and horror-esque themes. So I can see how it's appealed to a lot of people. But yeah, it's a little bit too childish in some ways. Like, so I still compare it to Lord of the Rings and other other things like that where they're more serious.
They were kind of the sort of companion franchises at the time. The two big ones were Harry Potter for kids and Lord of the Rings for pretty much everyone.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think they are pretty good. I'm enjoying them more than I thought I would as I've started to get into them. So I'm assuming they get even sort of more adult-like, don't they?
I was going to say, as the children get older, the story gets darker and darker as it progresses. And until it finishes, and then you get that spin-off piece of shit, that Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
His least favourite named character ever, New Commander.
So don't go there unless you want to get really angry like me.
No, Chris will love it.
I might watch it just to see if I like it and when.
Just to spite me. But the Harry Potter films are really, they are good. And as you say, they start off very child friendly and become less and less. So if you saw the first ones when you were, around the age that they were aimed at, the films sort of progress with you as they come out over the next 10 years or so. It's a good franchise. It's not one I watch on a regular basis, but I enjoyed them more than Lord of the Rings.
Did you? Yeah, so I like the books. I mean, I do like the films, Lord of the Rings, but the books were a lot better. Yeah. I don't know about the Harry Potter books. Have you read the Harry Potter books?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. I did.
You did, yeah?
Yeah, again, the book, you can make up your own imagination and, you can see the things your own way, can't you? So a film's always going to be just one version of what one person has decided. So, yeah, I think I prefer the books because you can make it up yourself, but the films are all right. Yeah.
And the films do come with the added fun of running through British IMDb for the past 20 years.
Yes.
Of just everyone's in them.
Yeah, I do like that. It's got some of the actors in it, in the later ones as well, when they start getting the bigger names in.
Well, I was surprised to see Gary Oldman.
Yeah, and his performance in it is just...
I've seen that. I've seen the Gary Oldman sequences or whatever, like the tail end of that movie. And he's fucking brilliant. Yeah. Although one that's I wouldn't say more obscure, but he's not as big a name. Do watch out for Jason Isaacs, who's the horrible kid.
Malfoy.
Yeah, his dad.
Yeah.
Yes. Is Jason Isaacs from Event Horizon.
Yes.
So I thought I recognised him from something. Yeah. Okay, I don't know Jason Isaacs still, so let's look him up. Who is he in?
He's Malfoy's dad.
But who is he in Event Horizon?
Oh, he's the doctor.
He's one of the crew. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I like him in Harry Potter. He's good.
Yeah,
he's always good, actually.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, is that your roundup, Chris? You've done very well.
I have. Yeah, it's been a marathon.
Adam, what have you been catching up with in the last few weeks?
Well, mine's a bit more up to date, so I'm going to call it a Snickers. But no, I had a week off at Christmas. Oh my word! I've managed to pack tons in, like for me anyway, tons.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just been great. One thing we obviously need to bring up is Martin's Close. What were your thoughts, Lee?
Martin's Close.
The M.R. James.
Yes. Sorry.
Peter Capaldi and.
I didn't even write that down. I really enjoyed it. I didn't think there was as much going. It was a more subdued story.
Yeah.
But I did like it. I found it really creepy. I found it funny in places where it was supposed to be. Like the judge was such a dick. He was hilarious. You enjoyed that as well.
Yeah.
He got me a bit though, because I think because Capaldi was like full serious.
Yeah.
The judge was almost like, were you on the same set as him? Because he's really in a comedy film, and sort of like, and Peter Capaldi's like, doing an epic.
Yes.
And I was a bit weirded out by Simon Williams topping and tailing it, like dressed like Rupert the Bear in a comfy chair, which I know why they've done it, and it's very M.R. James in the idea of someone sits you down and tells you this story. But I'm sorry, but that wasn't a creepy enough place to be sitting, or sort of old-fashioned enough. It looked too cozy.
Yeah.
It was like, it sort of went a bit like, when Roald Dahl turns up with a blanket over his legs at the start of Tales of the Unexpected.
Yeah.
Actually, to be fair, he is creepier with his starting things to...
Yeah, but that's because he is a very, very strange man.
Yes.
But no, overall, I liked it, and it was better than the previous year, the Simon Callow actor one.
it was definitely a lot
miles
better than that.
Yeah.
So I was very taken with that.
So, and I mean, linking to that, I mean, it's not sort of horror, but it's certainly an event in this house. The Doctor Who's back. They've done 2 episodes, which was a bit of a shock because I thought they were just doing a New Year's Day episode. I didn't realise it was actually we're now doing the series.
Nice.
And they've brought the Master back, but previously, obviously, he was Michelle Gomez. Was playing him, and she was brilliant. They've now got Sacha Dhawan, who is he was in the Tractate Meadoff. He's in loads of other stuff as well, but he was like the main character in Gatiss.
I saw him in something recently as well. I can't remember what. But
he was in Dracula.
Seeing him in something recently. That was what it was. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, we come back to that. But so he's the Master now, and he is really fucking good. He's an utter shitbag. He really's given it. No, he's like proper sort of like I don't know, Richard III sort of like horrible villain of the thing. So yeah, that's been brilliant to see. I started watching a TV series called Shadows of Fear, which is an old 70s one I bought cheap. Watched a couple of episodes of that. It's like a sort of lower budget Tales of the Unexpected. Doesn't have anything. It's all like horror stories, but none of them have. I don't think there's anything so far. There's nothing supernatural. It's more sort of murders, and it's a bit inside Number 9.
Okay,
that sort of feeling where it's just sort of everything's. It's a twist, but it's always a bit nasty, or it's like Although the one I watched just before we were going to record did have it kept using the bit of music it's like a piece of library music, stock music, that's the comfy chair music in Monty Python. So in the Spanish Inquisition where it's Dan, not the comfy chair. Yeah, they keep using that, and I'm just thinking not the comfy chair. So it's a bit of an overblown one now. They've done that perfectly. So I got some nice bits and pieces over Christmas. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, me and Jennifer as well. But of that lot, I watched The Guyver, the Japanese sort of 90s cyberpunk thing with Mark Hamill and the villain from Reanimator. Not Jeffrey Combs is in it, but not him. The guy who plays the head of the department who ends up it's him. And,
I did actually see that when I was quite young. It was on Sky when I was about 13 or 14. And doesn't Mark Hamill turn into some crazy weird
he basically
monster
gets turned
thing
into a giant bug thing, and it's weird as arseholes, but it's it was fun. And there was a weird thing where I kind of watched it because I'd never seen it before, but it was one of those ones where I was like, I should have seen this. Because I thought certainly, like you guys, one of you would have seen it like at the time.
So I kind of thought I might mention it on one episode,
or something,
and was surprised that no one had seen it.
Yeah, but yeah, that was. I mean, it's not for everyone. That's the best I can say. It's definitely a film they'd enjoy. So yeah, watch that. Watch Black Klansman, which is really just funny and great film that is.
I haven't seen it yet, but I do love Adam Driver, so I'll be very keen to check that out.
Seriously, it is just piss funny. It really is, and all true as well, which is just funnier in a way. I finally got to watch my special edition of Nightbreed.
Oh,
they need to do it. HBO need to pick that up. They're worried about what they're going to do after Game of Thrones. No, they should just do a series of Nightbreed because the film doesn't give it the breathing space. The film's good, but you can see there's like so much that's had to be truncated, even in the director's cut, like that Arrow have released. It's there's still a lot of rush stuff, and you sort of like there's oddly enough with this sort of thing Clive Barker should be mined for this sort of thing because his stuff is so rich.
Yeah, he's such a good world builder. He creates such a massive universe around everything he does. I think, yeah.
But for people who haven't seen it, it's basically a man discovers that he is essentially the chosen one of the Nightbreed, who are all the freaks and occult creatures and magical beasts that have been basically shunned and destroyed as the world and civilization of human civilization has progressed, and they're all sort of stuck in this last sort of ditch city called Midian. And this guy is driven there, but he's driven there by the fact that his psychiatrist has framed him for serial murders that his psychiatrist is performing himself. The psychiatrist in this case is actually played by David Cronenberg, and just perfect.
He does a really good job.
He really does. It's, you sort of forget, oh yeah, he's a director. You know, you sort of think, oh no, this is just a guy, because you know him. You kind of think, oh yes, but it's not because you've seen him in other things. It's because you know David Cronenberg. So it's like, oh yeah, he's actually he's so good that you kind of lose that thing of this is a cameo or this is like something unusual. He's just one of the cast. It's really good. But yeah,
that mask he wears is one of the creepiest things I remember from my childhood. I remember seeing pictures of it. It absolutely terrifying me.
Yeah, that would need to stay. Pretty much if they but I think HBO, I mean, obviously you listen to this podcast all the time, we get so many messages from you,
any hashtag in it and all that nonsense on Twitter.
But they need
send them an email every week.
They need to get involved. The Nightbreed is just so perfect for it, and the book is as open-ended as the film, so it's like just
you can write extensively on it and further create, because that's the thing, like the whole thing of Midian, as you say, does feel rushed. You sort of see it in a quick few scene pass through, but you could build that up massively. So
I mean, the book gives you gives you people's backstories and stuff. They could do like a Orange is the New Black. By the time that they get to Midian and start working their way around, you just do an episode of everyone's story.
Yeah.
So you get like Peliquin's story and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And there is there's stuff that's out there where there's been comics of Nightbreed and like I say, in the actual original novel Cabal, there's a lot of stuff there. So, it's really it's just right for it. I mean, you'd certainly get like a good, I don't know, 3 series certainly of what is just in the book.
Yeah.
With the right writers and everything else like that. Yeah, don't do it and make it shit. That's the proviso on this, And I also watched The Serpent and the Rainbow, which is the Wes Craven voodoo film with Bill Pullman getting his tackle nailed to a chair. I mean, that's just a classic. I haven't seen it for so long, and it is a good film. More of a thriller than a horror film, really. But it has so many dream sequences and hallucinations and sort of horror trappings that it's still very clearly a Wes Craven film.
Yeah, definitely. I saw it for the first time maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I really enjoyed it. Jennifer watched it with me, but she doesn't remember it. So
no, right. The tackle bit. You think that would stand out, wouldn't you? But no, it must be. Was I asleep at that point?
Possibly.
I mean, that's an unfortunate reflection on Bill Pullman, isn't it? I don't remember his tackle getting nailed. He obviously didn't stand out, But and the other thing that I really need to mention is Kuso, which is Flying Lotus's film, which is just mental. And frankly, it's one of those things where it's like, I really love it. I don't know who I'm recommending it to, because I'd imagine it's so sort of like one of those things that are just full. You've got to be in the right frame or the right altered state and just watch it and enjoy it. But it's a series. It's really weird because it's sort of like, it's somewhere between like a stoner comedy, like say Trip Tank or sort of Kevin Smith almost sort of bits.
Yeah.
But in a sort of William Burroughs style world, shot like an art film. Like without a shadow of a doubt, everything in it looks amazing, and also has the common decency to look shit where it's meant to. And there's loads. And frankly, this is the best way I can see it. This is the best recommendation I can make. If you are prepared to sit through a lot of body horror, like disease body horror, and you're willing to put up with a lot of dick jokes, but you do get to see George Clinton, that's as in Parliament and Funkadelic, as a man who has a tiny insect doctor up his bum who can cure a man of his fear of breasts. And you see the insect. It's almost like, you know, the Fatty Bum Bum video.
Yes.
It's like that sort of tail, the top and tail of that with the Lady Gaga stuff. It's almost like sort of, it's just daft, but so pleased with it. Not pleased with itself, but just pleasing. Like, it don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and
it's
you
like,
enjoy it for that.
Yeah. It's like, we're gonna put in a load of like piss and fart jokes, but also I'm gonna do this shot lovingly for quite a while, and it looks like shit, like from Excalibur, or like sort of, you know, it's just very, very weird. But like I say, I highly recommend it, but I don't know who I highly recommend it to, because there's plenty of people out there who'd tell me to go fuck myself. So yeah, I genuinely don't know.
Excellent. That all sounds good. You have been busy.
Yeah.
Jennifer, is there anything you would like to discuss?
Well, yeah, I feel like, considering we've had, 2.5 weeks off over Christmas, I don't feel we've watched as much as we should have done, perhaps.
I agree.
Yes.
Dracula, I think we should come to, as that will probably be a group discussion.
I was going to make a suggestion.
Go on.
Did you want to do Dracula as a bonus episode? Because
yes.
I think we could all...
Definitely.
Definitely.
So, so no more.
So we're going to park that there, folks.
Yeah.
And we will bring you a Dracula bonus episode, because I think it's one of those things where everyone's fucking seen it.
Yes.
Now,
I know. People at work who I would never assume would like horror have been saying, "Oh, did you see Dracula?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did. You did?" Yeah. Okay, so no more. Right. So, so Chiller. Are you going to talk about Chiller?
I will allow you to talk about Chiller if you like.
Yes. So Adam, I believe, lent us Chiller.
Bought me Chiller for Christmas.
Chiller for Christmas. Oh, okay. Didn't know the origins, but yes,
Merry Christmas
into our lives. Really good. I mean, retro horror is always interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 1990s it was out?
I think it's early 90s. It's like 1992 or something like that.
What's his name? Sim.
John Sim,
isn't it? It's got all those 90s
John
actors.
Sim.
Yeah.
Clunes was
John
Sim.
1995.
95.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. But all very good stories. All very, I'm going to assume it's BBC. I might be wrong, but it's got that feel of...
I think it might be ITV.
Okay, yes.
I am on the IMDb's now.
But it certainly has got to it. I mean, nothing horrific, but all... ITV, all those slightly odd stories, some more spooky than others. But again, very good actors.
Yeah, again, like you were saying, lots of people you know. So John Sim, Martin Clunes. It was great to see all that. Nigel Havers as well. So they had some more old school actors in there as well. I really, like I say, some of them were more horror than others. But we got all the way through it in a couple of nights. And I enjoyed every story. It was really, really good. And Jennifer made one of those moments when she doesn't do it very often, but sometimes she says something which is so not her, it just makes me laugh.
What did I say?
It's when there's two guys. There's a guy fighting with an older lady, and I said he'd definitely be able to overpower her. He should definitely have that. And you just said out of the blue, punch her in the tits.
Oh,
And I launched sparkling water out of my nose because it was throwing out character.
She's quite practical, Jennifer, isn't she?
Yeah, I think that's it. I was thinking...
Do whatever needs to be done.
I think you're just going roller derby on it, aren't you?
Yes, pretty much. This one was being ridiculous. I was like, look, just
deal with it.
Stop trying to hold her back and get, she was scratching and everything, I think. Yeah, I was like, surely just, yeah.
Tip punch.
Yeah, practically. So, yes. Yeah, no, it's a good series.
It was, yeah. So if you get a chance to get your hands on that, any listeners who like the old British TV, the sort of the ghost stories for Christmas and stuff, it's not as old as that. It's newer. But yeah, really, really good series.
Yeah. Other than that, I've done a bit of reading. So I read the book that Adam bought me, and I've forgotten the name of it because it sounds like it's IKEA linked, isn't it?
Oh,
is it horror
Store?
Yes.
Like an accent over the R and no
That's
E.
it. Yes, I don't even know how to pronounce it because it's Swedish. But yes, all done out. The book's very pretty. It looks like IKEA pages with different, chairs and bookshelves and things. But the whole story is, horror related. And pretty dark and interesting. And very good read. So I very much enjoyed that. Thank you, Adam. And I read The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which again, it's not your typical horror, but it is horrific. It's about people and how they end up they all get together at university and then they end up basically killing someone and how it all progresses from there. But it's really well written from how they're thinking about it and processing it and how it sort of moves on over time. So that's very interesting. And then we've literally just started this evening Gremlins 2.
Hey.
We haven't got around to that for
3 weeks I've been chasing her. 3 weeks.
Yeah, me and Claire watched Gremlins 2 as well.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
a Christmas film. So it was
I
on
was going to
Christmas
say, it's,
to watch, But so we've only watched probably 20 minutes or so far. But I forgot about the Bugs Bunny starter. That's interesting. Yeah. Reminded me how horrific Bugs Bunny is really, and that we should probably watch some of those.
Yes.
Just as a recap, and things like Tom and Jerry as well that are pretty horror. Maybe Chris should be showing these to his children or not.
Yeah. It's worrying. We've already got Ted on Warner Brothers. So,
excellent.
Yeah, good.
Nice. So that was very good. And that's about it, really. What else have you been watching?
Excellent.
That I've probably watched as well and forgotten about.
Yes. Spookies I rewatched, as we discussed before, following Not For Everyone covering it. If you want to see a whole lot of different monsters in a very short period of time with no real explanation as to why any of them are there, that's the film.
Sounds like you've just described the new Cats film.
Yeah, pretty much. Less sexy than
I've not seen yet, or I will be talking about it. But yeah.
So just to give you a quick rundown, I made a note. So there's the hook-hand wolfman. There's the fart monsters, zombies, evil necromancer, mermen, giant alien-looking monsters, crone-like witches, living Grim Reaper statue, and finally Spider-Woman, which is not like Spider-Man, but is like a woman who's a big fuck-off spider. All in a very short period of time. So that was... it's mental. It's just a mental film. It's lots of nice imagery with a kind of half-assed story.
Is it a real film?
Yes.
Is it a old film?
80s.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to show you it. I think you might hate it, but I'd find it funny. Hardware.
I did want to see Spookies after they covered it on.
It's good. I'll lend you my copy so you can watch it, because it's on. I think it's on YouTube, but it's not very good quality, and it's one of those films that everything happens in the dark, so you need a decent quality copy to watch. Otherwise, you miss all of this monster, which you don't want to. Hardware I watched following our discussion of it a couple of weeks ago, and it being a Christmas film, which I didn't remember at all. I've got to admit it didn't hold up for me at all. I love the sound. I love the music and everything in it. I thought it was really good. And I've forgotten kind of how almost monochromatic it shot is, just black and red. And it works out really well. So I wasn't a massive fan, but I didn't.
It's Again, I think it's like The Guyver. It's in a very similar sort of. It's that early 90s sci-fi cyberpunk, more 2000 AD than anime, but yeah, it's
So was that one you were recommending to me to watch?
Oh, definitely. I think I still think you would. Yeah, I do think you'd like it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think you'd enjoy it more than I did. But yeah, it is good. Zombieland 2, I finally got around to catching.
Oh yeah, any good?
On Christmas Day, we sat and watched that. Yeah, it's as you'd expect, really. It's pretty good. It's not as good as the original, as obviously you wouldn't expect it to be. But yeah, it had its moments. It was funny. The zombies were pretty brutal and nasty. Yeah, and it worked. It worked well. It was
the first one. You know, it's not really a surprise anymore. Whereas the first one was quite original from what it did, really. I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm not sure if it counts as horror or not, but we did see it. We watched The Lighthouse.
Oh, have you seen that?
No, but I really want to.
Well,
I'm assuming from your expression, maybe not.
I think it's a film for men that went to public school together, and I imagine it's basically, you know, a analogy, not an analogy, one of those sorts of words. Allegory, probably. Yes.
Metaphor.
Maybe one of those things about going to public school together and sharing a place with another man.
I saw it as a Dry January advert, but
yes,
but massively pretentious. I didn't dislike.
Probably in then.
Yeah, I think you'd love it. It's beautifully shot. It's a really strange aspect ratio, and it's all in black and white. It's beautifully shot. The characters, like those two, bearing in mind there's only two people
very
in
well
it.
done. Yes,
they are absolutely phenomenally good in it. Really, really, really good. So yes,
we probably all know two people like that. They get very drunk at parties and would start fighting each other. I think we've probably all got
start hugging each
friends
other.
in mind. Yes.
But yeah, like the performances, it's worth watching just for the performances alone. Absolutely outstanding. I mean, you expect it from Willem Dafoe because obviously he's been doing it a long time. So I wasn't quite so sure if Pattinson could sort of hold up next to him in such a heavy role. He absolutely does. Absolutely fantastic. So
this is all I keep hearing though, is like Robert Pattinson's just like in stuff and knocking it out of the park. And he is the new Batman.
Yeah.
Oh right.
Is he? Now, before having watched this, I would have,
I'd
have said, well, that's good because I don't want to watch Batman anyway. But I'm now actually tempted because, it was, and finally, Ready or Not, we saw the new comedy horror.
Again, one I really want to see. I think it looks good.
Oh yes, I did, and I read a review on it earlier. Robin Ince has just done a review on his Book Shambles. That'd be the book one. The other shambles he does.
Blog Shambles?
Yes, yeah. I was literally reading on that on Twitter earlier, and his review of it was really interesting, what he kind of linked into it, and he mentioned things like Twin Peaks and all sorts of other kind of references that, I was like, I can see that, definitely.
It was, it was brilliant. It's everything you expect. It's horror comedy, but it leans more on the horror side, but the comedy lands every time. Really well written. Everyone's performances in it were fantastic. Really good. Enough twists and turns and things that you don't see come in. It reminded me quite a lot of You're Next.
Oh yes,
but with more comedy. So like the gore and everything is just as intense. But the comedy in it works fantastically.
He says the family are more blue blood than blue colour, and it's a film with no fat in it at all. A perfect 90 minutes. That's and it's now high on a list of wedding films. Muriel's Wedding for the #1 position.
Interesting. So there we go. So that's Robin Ince then.
Yes. And Link, he says it has hints of Heather's, Society, and perhaps Lucio, is it Fulci?
Yeah, Fulci.
House by the Cemetery.
Oh, cool.
So there you go, yeah.
And previous guest on the show and still frequent listener, Darnie, was watching it before he came round. So we had a New Year's Eve party, which he came to, and he was watching it during the day, and he was texting me as he was watching it with each kill going, yeah, that was a bit, oh no. And he couldn't wait to see me. He had to keep me updated kill by kill. And speaking of him, I do owe him a thank you.
Yes. Are you ready for it? Drum roll.
I have a thank you for this. This is my red Thulu balaclava.
That is awesome.
When the police are looking for a man who is holding up an off licence wearing a Cthulhu balaclava.
If I was still drinking, I would, but I'm not. But yeah, this was a Christmas present from Darnie. So thank you, Darnie. I promised him I'd wear it on the show.
To shake the tentacles. Yeah, that's good.
I promised him I'd wear it on the show. So,
I think you shouldn't take it off now. That is too good.
It's a bit warm.
Yeah.
So I had a few other things, but we are 40 minutes in and we haven't got to the film yet. So
shit, okay.
I shall save those for another day. Anyone who likes really terrible films, though, before I talk about it, go and watch Tammy and the T-Rex. It's all on YouTube.
Oh, and before we go any further, I'll just say I want it on record. There's a show on called The Masked Singer, and I think that the hedgehog is Steve Pemberton from the League of Gentlemen. I'll just leave it there. I just want it on record.
Right,
we need to check this out, find out what that's all about.
Don't believe me. It's like
it's the new. Is it like the new Saturday night because there's no strict or something?
Yeah, it's all celebrities dressed in ridiculous costumes and they sing, and a panel have to guess who they are.
And then they vote them out.
Oh well, the trouble is they're only unmasking one an episode,
So
and there's like 18 of them, and you're like,
fuck that.
That's 18 weeks of your life, Adam.
Yeah, no, just tune it. We're just going to tune in to see the unmasking.
Right,
because we've seen everyone who's singing on it now, so it's just a case of eliminate.
5 minutes.
But I'm convinced that's Steve Pemberton. So that's basically the way I can describe this film is, Paul Verhoeven movies, like RoboCop and stuff like that. When they're flicking channels, or like Running Man, when they're flicking any dystopian 80s sci-fi. This feels like a show that you'd see 20 seconds of, and everyone would talk about it like. I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah,
just one of those things that's absolutely nothing to do with the film, but everyone kind of hooks on, but literally because it's like 12 seconds or whatever like that. Yeah, that's what this show feels like. So,
do you think does it still count to their viewing figures if people just tune in for the last 10 minutes?
I couldn't give a monkeys.
No, I hope not. That's all I was thinking.
I think if I understand the ratings right, you have to see. There has to be 15 minutes, which is why the lottery is a 15-minute show.
Oh, right.
You have to be 15 minutes or longer to count to ratings.
Yes.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Well, that's what it used to be. I mean, I'm talking like years ago. I mean, obviously now with sort of people viewing iPlayer and, streaming and stuff like that, it could be... ratings are probably completely different now. But when it was just old school...
whole 15 minutes of anything nowadays? Like...
Well, exactly. A 15-minute on YouTube. Oh, no. That's far too long. Right. Oh, it's an epic.
It is. Right. So, following our last episode where we covered The Exorcist, we have gone to Exorcist 3.
Why we skip 2? Would you like to explain that to the viewers?
It's crap.
Okay. Does it not follow on?
No. So 2 is a prequel. So it's the exorcism that he did previously.
No,
and
2
3 follows on.
Yeah,
2 is half and half. It's like Godfather 2. You get a prequel of Father Merrin's previous exorcism, and you get the continued story of Reagan, Linda Blair's character. And Richard Burton turns up as the priest in that one. And the music's by Ennio Morricone. It looks mental, and it still manages to not be that much cop, which is quite impressive.
Not a fan. We did have somebody, one of our listeners did say, though, that he's one of the only people who enjoyed it. So, Stan,
I enjoy it, but I wouldn't inflict it on other people.
As opposed to, very differently, this film.
Oh, yes, I'd inflict this on a lot of people.
Yeah, I think one of the first things to mention, as I've mentioned it multiple times in my notes, just how funny this film is.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I'd forgotten Kinderman and Dyer's their dialogue between the two of them when they go to the cinema and everything. Just two cantankerous old men. They're just absolutely hilarious.
I'll put down a few bits. I was going to say, like, and I'm sure you'll disagree with this strongly, Lee, and possibly Adam, but the dialogue actually made me think of Quentin Tarantino, because it was a lot of talking that didn't need to be there, but was entertaining.
It's kind of like, I always think of it as kind of like those 1930s, 20s gangster movies, where it's like, so what are you going to do, kid? You're going to look at it that way? You're going to look at it this way? Whatever you're going to do, you're going to see it that way round, aren't you? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do, boss. And it's kind of that sort of rapid fire, sort of,
Like when they were leaving the theatre and he's talking about the cop in the bathtub. And it's like, that's got nothing to do with the story whatsoever. And yet I am loving hearing what you're going to tell me you're going to do about the cop in the bathtub.
I can give you a factoid on the carp in the bath.
Go on.
That speech is in the original Exorcist novel. And it's also in Legion, the novel that Exorcist III is based on. So William Peter Blatty
liked it so much.
Really, he's pleased with that line.
But that's something I've never heard anybody ever talk about a carp in any way. Yeah, like, all right, you go fishing for a carp, that's it, and then you throw him back.
I ate carp my first time in Transylvania, and it tasted a bit like someone had taken cod and rubbed mud into it. It was very unpleasant.
That's why you put it in a bath for a week
to get
all water.
Get all the impurities out. Yeah.
That might be next Christmas dinner, darling.
No, we're going back to Goose. That was a winner.
I think it's also just because both of them just deliver the lines. It's their comic friendship, but they don't break character with each other.
No,
they both sort of adopt this grumpiness and everything, and it's like,
and they both think they're going there to make each other feel better. As well, aren't they?
Yeah, I like that. I do like that.
So it's such a good job of building up their relationship, which then meant later on that you could really feel for him trying to handle what happens.
Yeah.
And again, like the acting was fantastic, I thought.
Yeah. I don't think there's any duds in this one, but like George C. Scott is just tremendous, because he's Kinderman, and he just, I mean, he's always good in stuff, but I think he's just, like you said, that bit after Dyer's killed, and he's dealing with it, but not dealing with it, and so on and so. It's just like,
it comes out.
It's so well done without someone having to hammer it home or big strings on the soundtrack or anything else like that. It's just him.
But even having him actually breaking down, I thought was quite forward, because men, that's not the thing, is it? So to have that shown in a film was actually quite, poignant, I thought.
Yeah, so especially for that character as well, you could tell he wasn't the type of character who would normally so just that bit when you just see him snap at the hospital,
his administrator,
just hammers it home how totally out of his comfort zone he is, and how he's not used to having to deal with that. And it's and like as you say, it's their performances that bring none of this is ever spoken. And they just get so much of a feel for that, how that person is, just from a very short period of seeing them on screen.
And I mean, and it's not something that is a holdover from the first film, because obviously Kinderman meets Dyer, he meets Karras, but there is no. I mean, obviously, he ends it with him taking Dyer off to sort of like saying to him, "Do you like the film? Do you like the movies? I get tickets. You see, which, as we discover in this film, his free pass is his police badge."
Yeah,
and he just screams up in a police car on official business.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's sort of it is entirely within that first 30, 40 minutes or whatever like that they create a really strong, good relationship between them.
Yeah.
And you then get the proper level of sort of devastation that he is feeling. And actually, I think it's also the thing of it's that thing of, yeah, he's a cop, but obviously, why would he become a cop originally if he didn't care?
Yeah.
But obviously, like,
I don't know. It's like, why am I a teacher?
That's true.
Yeah, originally you cared.
Because you like holidays.
Yeah.
My one thing that I did find that I made a note on is obviously Kinderman and Karras meet in the first one, but only fairly briefly. Whereas in this one, at the beginning, he describes him as being like his best friend and talks about him as if they have a very special relationship. So I'm assuming that possibly in the book, there's more of a relationship between the two of them that wasn't possibly in the film.
So how far on is this? I think they did say it.
It's literally whatever. It's the same year, so it's.
Is it? Okay. I thought it was because I thought they talked about how he's been wandering around
15 years.
Yes,
15 years. They say, yeah. But I think because I've not read Legion, I really should. But I've read The Exorcist, and no, The Exorcist that you see on the screen is pretty much as it is. So. A lot of people make the thing of saying, "Oh, it is in Legion," but apparently that was like William Peter Blatty sort of rewrote it a bit, or sort of, it's my characters. I'll do what I like. So he kind of built up this thing that like
I suppose it could be
Kinderman had this sort of friendship.
They may not have that many friends, and they just happen to get on, and so
Yeah, true.
It's plausible. I had a couple more quotes that I thought were great. Jesus loves you. Everyone else thinks you're an arsehole. And
should be a bumper sticker, shouldn't it?
Yeah. And the lemon drops and pot, I think it's addictive.
Yes.
That line of dialogue is in the original Exorcist novel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've
it's
taken
it's not in Legion. So again, although he was like, well, I didn't get the trout line in the film, so I'm going to put it in the book this time. Put it in the book again, and then this time around, right, I'm putting that in. And he had to be about lemon drops and they cut out. Fools.
We've seen A Wonderful Life like 37 times, but then who's he talking to? Someone above him whose favourite is The Fly. That seemed a bit random. Was The Fly around?
I liked that. That made me laugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the original Vincent Price, The Fly from the 50s, which is a great film.
Okay.
But obviously, Cronenberg's Fly was out before this, and that guy is in. He's in that version of The Fly.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, I think he's in or is it? He might be The Fly 2, but it's one of the later remake ones. But yeah, he's in. So I think that's probably an in joke. I don't know.
And then a bit later on, May the Schwartz be with you. Didn't he say?
Yeah.
Spaceballs.
Is that not from Spaceballs?
Yeah.
I thought surely it can't be. When we were watching it, I nearly turned to you and went, "Is that I thought, no, I must have just imagined that."
And then the last weird one was at some point. Now I don't know the names. Who is it? Who he turns into? The actor. I've seen it. He's in June.
Brad Dourif.
Yeah, and I love him. He's fantastic. Not obviously I don't know his name, but
it's not a quote. It's not a quote from Legion, man, but I had to write it down for you because I know your love of June. It's by will alone I set my mind in motion.
That's
It's by
it.
the juice of Sappho that thoughts acquire speed, the lips acquire stains, the stains become a warning. It is by will alone I set my mind in motion.
Yes, that is excellent. Very good.
Yeah, Brad Dourif's in David Lynch's Dune. He's in Blue Velvet as well.
I've not seen that.
I mean, it's a great film, but Brad Dourif is just like he's the voice of Chucky. He's
another one of those actors who made his money in some really big films and does loads of indie stuff. Now he doesn't need to make money. He can just pick and choose the films he does, and he does loads of really good low budget indie films. So he's still doing loads of stuff.
Yeah, obviously because the first sort of film that he drew sort of like got famous was he was Billy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Who's like the young guy with the stammer, and he's he's in that. Grim Prairie Tales, which I only mention because everyone should see Grim Prairie Tales. It's amazing. Wise Blood. He's in Alien Resurrection.
Yes, did see that.
He's the scientist in Alien Resurrection. He's Wormtongue in the Lord of the Rings films. He's Sheriff Brackett in Halloween and Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie Halloween, of which we shall never speak again. Wizard of Gore. He's in the Werner Herzog Bad Lieutenant and My Son, What Have You Done? Which I know that Bobby on Not For Everyone podcast has recommended to me. He also recommended it to Adam, and Adam spent about 5 minutes screaming at him about why did he make him watch this film. He's in Critters 4, Colour of Night, the film where we all found out that Bruce Willis had a tiny cock.
I've seen that.
Death Machine.
Colour. Just checking.
He was the character Doc Cochrane in Deadwood. He's done loads and loads of telly. He's in Star Trek Voyager. Tales of the Unexpected, where he's a hitchhiker in one episode, which I saw in the middle of the night the other while back. But that was really great. But I am going to have to say Luther Lee Boggs in The X-Files, who is the killer that Mulder has captured. Mulder helped catch, who has the ability to channel the dead, and he channels Scully's father just after he dies. It's like, I think it's first series, and he's really he's just great in that. But again, you've asked him to play an incarcerated serial killer.
Was he typecast?
I think so. Well, actually, they definitely saw Exorcist 3 because pretty much half the cast have also been in the X-Files. So they obviously just sort of were like, well, we need something, and in similar sort of roles. So it's like, we need a creepy nurse, we need a dodgy doctor,
Nice.
I could say I love Brad Dourif. I think he's fantastic. So I like a lot of his independent stuff. He was in a film called The Hazing with Tiffany Shepis.
Yes,
I really, really enjoyed.
Have you seen a film called Ginger Clown?
I've got it, but I haven't seen it.
He's in that, and that looks like it might be quite entertaining. Like someone said, it was just a sort of, it's very 80s, deliberately very 80s, and very knows what it is, and apparently it's just good. So
excellent. Should try that. I mean, again, the same as with George C. Scott. Brad Dourif's delivery of his monologues and everything.
So good.
Just staggering. Yeah. Just nails every line. He's one of those people. He's a pleasure to watch. I find monologue stuff like that sometimes a bit boring and it drags out, but he puts so much into it, and he's so.
He does sinister and funny.
Expressive. So it's just a fantastic actor. Yeah.
No, he's and strangely enough, I haven't watched it yet. I will report back when I do, but I've got I have the Arrow Blu-ray. And obviously we watched the theatrical one, but that has the Legion cut on there, which is William Peter Blatty's original version, essentially, which is because basically what happened was, the Father Morning, the priest who you sort of see at the start, briefly in the middle, and then turns up to commit an exorcism.
Yeah.
That was all refilmed after the event, because they kind of wanted. Basically, the studio said, "Well, there's no exorcism in this, so we can't call it The Exorcist III." And William Peter Blatty said, "The book's called Legion, and I wanted to call it Legion." And they were like, "No, we're going to call it The Exorcist III because that's how it'll make box office. But you haven't got an exorcism in it, so can we have an exorcism?" So he goes back and puts that in, and basically,
very tacked on, to be fair, didn't it? I mean, it had nothing to do with the story at all.
And interestingly enough, Jason Miller playing Karras, or returning to play Karras, he wasn't originally involved either. They said, look, he's playing Damien Karras again. It was like a studio decision where they were like, but people aren't going to work this out, that Brad Dourif is meant to be the killer within.
Show him in it.
Yeah, so they put that I kind of think is quite a good decision, not just because you get to see Jason Miller being in it, but also just it kind of, especially because no one else is who they are. Like, none of them are the original actors.
Because they recast, they did recast Kinderman and Dyer. So if you didn't have him, then maybe it'd be difficult to marry all the points.
Yeah. So they've got him in, and that was like refilmed.
It worked well, because it took me a while. I'd be like, am I just imagining this? Is that the same bloke or not?
Yeah.
So actually, it was quite. Yeah,
and
quite a good.
I think they also got, like, there's parts where the voice changes. Some of it goes deeper and things like that. And obviously there's also the creepy old woman's voice that comes out. That is who, incidentally, that's George C. Scott's wife.
Oh no!
Who was an actress, but she wasn't. It wasn't just, the missus is in the car. Do you mind finding her something to do? No, she's an actress in her own right. I did make a note. I will credit
Mrs. Scott.
Colin Dewhurst.
Okay, off the butchers.
Yep. And Lee was so pleased with that fact that
he had
to leave the room.
Run away.
It's because he's remembered he's got a Colin Dewhurst T-shirt, and he's going to change into it and bring it back. And
he's got her out in the car. He's just remembered.
Bring her in. But apparently, I think they got Jason Miller to record some of the dialogue, and that gets looped under Brad Dourif. And obviously they play with pitch and sort of stuff like that. But a lot of it gets intermingled, and they were going to have a morphing effect so that it would be, but apparently that doesn't. They tried it and it just didn't look much cop, although it's in the trailer. But in the actual film they were like, no, I don't think this works particularly well. So they
needed it. I think the different, because it threw me because it almost was 1 minute was one, and the next bit was, and you were like, hang on a minute, what have I missed? And I think that worked quite well to put you on edge. And
definitely. And I think, but so that's like, and like I say, the Nicol Williamson, the priest who comes in, was not in it at all. And that was like an 11th hour hiring and rewrite and everything.
Definitely felt like that. It was a bit like when he turns up at the end, you're like, oh, hang on a minute, if I missed some other stuff in the middle somewhere where he's more involved. But fair enough.
But I think he's also the guy who plays Father Morning, Nicol Williamson, interestingly enough, is mentioned by name in the novel of Legion. I don't know in what context. I don't know whether it's Kinderman and Karras talking about actors they like, but obviously it was like, actually, you're like, well, Nicol Williamson, you've read the book, so get him in to do it.
Why not?
He's Merlin in Excalibur, directed by John Borman, who is the director of Exorcist II: The Heretic. So it all forms a giant worm eating itself. So he's also in Columbo: How to Dial a Murder, which is a particularly notable Columbo episode with the dogs and Rosebud. I shall leave it there. But the Columbo fans out there know what I'm talking about. Yes, they do. Oh, Claire's doing a little dance. So.
Thank you, Claire.
Rosebud. What else was Rosebud mentioned in?
Citizen Kane.
That's it. Yes.
It's also the name of the vulture in the cartoon Mad Monster Party that we watched recently.
Anyway,
sorry.
Back to this.
I did make a note also as well. You can tell the progression from the 70s to the 90s. I've written no subtlety, exclamation mark. So obviously the proof that the devil was at work in the original was little things like her floating above the bed and opening the drawers when she's tied down.
To be fair, her neck going all the way around, and the vomit was slightly less subtle.
Yes, but that compared to the cell being full of cobras and fire, and lightning destroying the floor.
Is that what Pazuzu would regard as a vulgar display of power?
Yeah.
Very vulgar. It's 15 years trapped in a priest's damaged brain trying to reknit it one cell by cell. Clearly sort of like just brought out the vulgar. So it's like, you, fuck off.
But yeah, I think you were right, because you said this really, this film really did hold up, and I was a little bit concerned because I've not seen it probably 10, 15 years.
I don't remember anything about it at all. When you said about watching it, I was like, can I be bothered? But no, it's really good, really funny.
What did you make of it, Chris, as a first viewing? Because obviously it is very different to the original. Well, not the original, but the first movie.
Yeah, well, I think I prefer it because I kind of liked it. Almost felt more subtle throughout until the end, as we've said. It felt a bit tacked on, but just the whole thing worked so well, and the story of him not knowing who he was, and like you say, rebuilding his brain and taking over other people, and like just the whole thing just worked really well, and with the great dialogue, which so I think in the first one, and it might be like I said on that episode, I think having seen the spoofs, it's so hard to watch that in the way that it was meant at the time now.
Seriously,
and so what I really liked about the first one was everything that wasn't the action parts. And it was similar to this, but there was hardly any action in this one, really. And I think that just worked so well. It really built the sense of what's going on without going on
all the horrificness, but they didn't actually show it, did they? They literally just talked about it afterwards, and it worked.
So I thought it was fantastic.
Well, Claire watched it with me, and I think again, well, she's The Exorcist. She shit it. So after, do you know what I mean? That's it. Anything now, bring it on, you pricks. I've seen the scariest movie in the world. Piss but like she said, is curiously enough, it's more unsettling. But as I said, it's because it hasn't entered like pop culture to the extent that The Exorcist has, that you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of pretty brand new as a film, which in many ways is, because I think this is something I had a rant in the car about to her as well, bless her, about how I prefer when films had, like, sequels had different names. No one would do it now, and I think certainly in the horror genre it's an accepted thing because it's kind of, this is how you sell it. I mean, you've got however many Friday the 13th and so on and so forth. But I always quite like that thing where it's like the Dirty Harry movies are all called different things. They're not like Dirty Harry 1, 2 and 3 and so on. You know, they're the Deadpool and Magnum Force, Sudden Impact, The Enforcer. So they're all called different things. And there's a weird thing where it's like you could stumble upon it thinking that this is something different. And I think that this might actually be, if it was called Legion, people would be aware that it's a sequel to The Exorcist because The Exorcist is so huge. But I think this would get a chance to stand on its own.
Yeah. And more people would watch it then, probably, because they might have been put off by The Exorcist ideals that it's all horrific and banned, all that nonsense. And watch this one.
And again, I mean, they give enough of the backstory in dialogue. You don't need to have seen it. Like you say, it works as a standalone movie. So yeah.
Mentioning Deadpool, I did notice there was a Deadpool reference. He says maximum effort at one point. Brad
Interesting.
Nice. Well spotted.
Which, of course, isn't a Deadpool reference because the time doesn't work. Yeah.
But it triggered that in your mind, which is good.
But there's, I think, also the I think in the original story, basically in the novel and possibly in the director's cut version, like I say, I've not seen it yet, is kind of the ending is basically the Gemini killer has come back because the Gemini killer wants to punish his dad, who was like an abusive priest, or like a Bible thumper sort of type. And so it's then his dad dies, and that's when the Gemini killer leaves Karras. So, and that's something that obviously, in terms of a film, is not quite as exciting as an exorcism. But it's something that you could probably make work much better in a novel. I don't know how they do it in a film. Sorry?
Adam, I'm sure you'll know. How much is true about the Zodiac killer that they talk about?
The Gemini killer.
The Gemini killer. None whatsoever. The Gemini's a made-up killer. He's he is based on Zodiac.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of assuming.
But I kind of think that even might be William Peter Blatty's equivalent of a shout-out, because the Zodiac killer mentioned that he really liked The Exorcist.
Really?
Yeah, in one of his taunting letters. Okay. Yeah, he said it was what was it? He called it the best satirical comedy I've seen.
Wow.
Or best satirical comedy this year, or something like that. Okay. Yeah, he did.
And this was after that. So this was almost him responding.
This is almost him saying, "Well, if the Zodiac's going to mention me, I'll mention the bloody Zodiac."
Wow.
And so so he's kind of meant to be the Zodiac. But while we're here, which I'm
while we're in serial killer territory,
there are two killers who have cited this film as influences, as for want of a better expression. There's a guy called Danny Rowling, the Gainesville Ripper. He killed 5 people in a rape, burglary, murder spree between August 24th and August 27th, 1990. He was arrested in September, pled guilty on all charges in court, and was sentenced to death by lethal injection. Shortly before his execution, he also admitted to the murder of 3 members of the same family in 1989. Amongst his signatures was corpse mutilation and posing, as well as decapitation of one of his victims. So again, that's sort of this sort of stagey thing that the Gemini killer does. In his testimony, he cited seeing The Exorcist III as a trigger to his murder spree, even going so far as to claim that another entity, which he dubbed Gemini, took possession of him when he committed his crimes. But basically, all the psychiatrists just went, "Well, he's a manipulative psycho. That's why he's saying that. He's just come up with this as an excuse." And look, he's even quoting the film. He's not an imaginative manipulative. So they really are, to be honest. But interestingly enough, Danny Rowling was partly the inspiration of screenwriter Kevin Williamson for the killer in Scream. So it's sort of like this whole serial murder feeding itself thing that sort of buzzes around The Exorcist. Maybe that's the power that they, some dark force comes from it. And then obviously, far more famously, Milwaukee cannibal Jeffrey Dahmer also had an obsession with The Exorcist III, along with Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, and Return of the Jedi. He would watch
But isn't this just because these are all great films?
That's the thing. You can't fault a man with good taste, can you? But he would watch particular sequences over and over again before heading out to look for a victim. The scenes were
just not.
Oh, there you go.
Not for a victim.
Blimey. The scenes were parts where powerful people exercise force over another. So I'm kind of guessing it's the end sequence with all the throwing people around the room and flames and cobras and people coming out the floor. He even bought yellow contact lenses to look more like the possessed Karras Gemini in like sequences. The figure he identified with in Jedi was Emperor Palpatine, And he even had the half-baked notion of getting a chair similar to the Emperor's to sit next to his shrine of skulls that he was going to build if he wasn't just such a
pretty
disorganised piss artist and, out of control loony.
You would want that chair.
It is an amazing chair.
It is a great chair.
Is he still alive? Do you think he's seen the most recent Star Wars film?
Oh no, he got killed in 19.
No, okay.
No, Jeffrey Dahmer got killed in 1994. Got murdered in prison. Yeah, a shower shanking, as I recall. So.
Oh, you know what he did? Don't
No, I just mean he might appreciate the film.
While some people,
exactly.
Yes, yeah, we didn't mention that actually, did we?
No,
I've still not seen it, so we must remain clear.
Oh.
Bloody good.
While some people have made a connection of the decapitation of victims in Dahmer's crimes to those in The Exorcist III, it's going to be how you dispose of bodies. You cut them up. That's I think it's part of
pretty standard.
Yeah. So, and also him keeping skulls was like a paraphilia he had from when he was a kid. He would like melt roadkill in acid and like try and articulate the bones and stuff like that. So it definitely wasn't like, collecting skulls. That's Exorcist 3. It's not Predator either. They didn't mention whether he had that on VHS. But I still think Dahmer's attempt to inject acid into the brains of his victims to make them more compliant zombies may have been influenced by the ejections of the ECT sedative in this.
Ah, yeah.
And supposedly, though this might be a myth, Jeffrey Dahmer was actually watching The Exorcist 3 when the police came and finally got him. So, yeah. And he cited it as his favourite film. So he was well into it. So that's lovely.
That's interesting.
He's like
you're watching this and you like it, don't go and kill people, please.
Yeah. But it's like, I like that on last podcast where they always say, right, if you listen to this show and you're a fan and you go out and kill someone, we're not covering your story on the show. We don't care what you do. Yeah, I just like that. It's like, right, we're going to fuck your fame off if you're doing it for stupid reasons, But yeah,
as opposed to all of the good reasons.
Yeah, already.
And obviously you've got the real potential serial killer in the original Exorcist and stuff like that. So it's like there's a whole lot of, But then I wonder if it's a powerful, the first film is legendary, and this film, if you're the right age to have seen it, like at the time, probably was a pretty powerful film. I still think it's a great film now, even in its sort of what would now be considered the studio interfered version. And like you say, it does get a bit ridiculous with rubber cobras and a floor crucifixion and everything. It's sort of
I didn't dislike that. I thought it was very good, but it, as I say, just when and it's right from the beginning with this film as well. The build up in the first film to actually seeing anything supernatural takes a while, whereas this, it's like within the first 60 seconds, a statue opens its eyes and starts crying blood. It's like, well, and it gives you a heads up of this isn't going to mess around and be subtle in any way and then drop it on you. It's right from the off. It's all real. There's, demons out there. And
I do like the fact that one of the things I like about this is it is such a 90s film because a cantankerous detective is searching for a serial killer who does art, for want of a better word. It preempts Silence of the Lambs. Do you know what I mean? But it's
it did remind me of
the 90s was just replete with serial murder movies, and each one was every 1,000 shit ones for every 7 and so on. It's sort of like you'd get some right corkers, but there was some right old crap as well. It's a real sort of it's a right mixed bag. But I do like that fact. It's like that feels comforting to me almost. That it's like, here we go. This is my childhood. Here's the subject matter. It's just So you've got
it's your comfort blanket.
Yeah. The 90s is much the same way as Hardware is in a way, where it's like sort of like, look, chunky grey sets. And Meccano robots. It's sort of
But really good film. As you're saying, it did. I think a lot of people probably didn't watch it at the time because the second one failed so badly. So if you didn't watch the third one, we haven't spoiled it. Go out and watch it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I have to say we're all going to know what one I'm talking about, and if you've seen the movie, you know what one I'm talking about. But the jump scare, which is ranked the jump scare, which is ranked, I think it's like in some top 10 somewhere of like greatest jump scares in films of all time.
Yeah, I didn't remember jump scare. I'm trying to remember.
Well, basically, there's a very
moving from room to room.
Oh,
ages.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think again that is a jump scare that is earned. That is not. We walked around the attic for 5 minutes, dropped all the sound, and a cat fell out of something.
Yeah,
you know, that is a jump scare where it's like you really get so sort of sucked into it, but in a sort of like the way you get sucked into snooker. You know, there's no excitement or anything. You're just like, so what? And he's gone out now, and he's coming. Fucking hell! You know, and it's sort of
I said that was the thing. I knew it was coming, and I'd forgotten how long that shot plays out to draw you into that comfort. And I kept thinking, any second, no, somebody else is coming. It's good. No, she's not gone into that room. Yeah, and then when it happens, it's still, and it's beautifully framed. That's the thing I like as well. All of that shot, so much of this, but that shot particularly is beautifully framed of the hallway, and just seeing people moving in and out in the background, and then for that to suddenly just come out of nowhere, it's fantastically paced. Really, really clever.
I think William Peter Blatty is a fairly underrated director, and I think possibly it might just be. I think this is possibly the reason. And again, this is back to like call your films something different. Is I wonder if the failure of Exorcist III, where the people who saw it didn't think it was much cop, but loads of people didn't see it because they'd heard it wasn't much cop. And then it's like 3 comes around. Well, I didn't see 2. But you don't need to have seen 2 to follow this.
It'd be fine because people who go on the internet, they liked it. But in the old days, it was literally, wasn't it, really word of mouth and.
Or as you say, if they'd named it Legion and hadn't called it Exorcist III, people wouldn't feel they'd missed.
What else has he done?
I think we covered him on. The previous episode, but we did cover there was which Jennifer wasn't here. We did talk about there's a film he did called The Ninth Configuration, which is kind of which is regarded as William Peter Blatty regards it as the second film in the series.
Okay, right.
But, though it has no supernatural elements or anything, but it is the story. Essentially, it's the story of the astronaut from the first film who is told he's going to die up there.
Yeah, theory.
And then it's about him having a nervous breakdown, and he goes to it. And actually, the guy who plays him, he is in this. I know he's in it. What a fool! Yeah, the guy who plays Dr. Temple, you know, the very nervous doctor who just chains fags.
What was that where he had to write down what he was going to say?
It's because because I thought. That's but it's because it's meant to be the Gemini has exerted him to like bring him to me, so he's kind of rehearsing it to look naturalistic rather than there's a demon in him and he told me to come in here and Jesus Christ help.
The euphemism for going for a pee.
But yeah, so the guy who plays him is a guy called Scott Wilson, and he plays Captain Billy Cutshaw in the Ninth Configuration, who is the astronaut. So it's So that connects across. But Father Dyer, Ed Flanders, which is just ruined, isn't it? The poor man. You know, you hear Ed Flanders.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, he's in the Ninth Configuration, playing Captain Richard Fell. But he's also in Salem's Lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's Dr. Norton.
Isn't that
Salem's Lot?
A He Who Must Not Be Mentioned film?
Oh, from the person who brought you. Sometimes they come back.
But also because both you and Lee dislike him so much.
No, we don't have too much of a problem with him. But
we like Stephen King.
I was gonna do you? I thought every time I mentioned him, you're like, oh, I don't like him.
No.
Let's just say it's a legacy of varying quality.
Yes.
Certainly in terms of both the novels and the adaptations.
It must be. Oh, you don't like The Shining, Lee?
I don't like The Shining. No.
But then neither does Stephen King. So Lee and Stephen King are actually in the same boat.
Exactly. Yeah, that's Kubrick who I don't see.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might be mixing them up because of that then.
Weird thing that I didn't know. You know, Father Canavan, who is the priest who gets beheaded in the confessional.
Yeah.
Mm.
He is meant to be Father Tom Birmingham from The Exorcist, from like the first film, who is the guy he's like the president, the really old priest, who looks like you'd have to draw his face with a ruler because it's just a series of angles.
Yes.
And he is actually really a priest called. The guy who plays him in that is really a priest called Father Tom Birmingham, but spelled differently. But then in the novel of Legion, they changed William Peter Blatty changed his first name to Kenneth because the Gemini killer only kills K's.
Yeah.
So he's Kenneth Birmingham in the book, and he's just Father Canavan in this, just probably because it was like, that's a lot of twisting about for Sodal. It doesn't bring anything to the movie, but yeah. And one final little sort of weird connection. Lee J. Cobb, who played Kinderman in the original film, died. But interesting, was obviously replaced by George C. Scott in this.
Yeah.
But he's also in a remake of George C. Scott is also in a remake of 12 Angry Men, playing Juror Number 3, which is the character Lee J. Cobb played in the original 12 Angry Men.
Interesting.
And to cap it all off, the remake with George C. Scott is directed by William Friedkin.
There we
go. It's just a right clusterfuck.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. I mean, George C. Scott's in it, so it can't be all bad. But again, it just goes to prove it's not a recent thing, remaking like Stone Cold classics and just
Why would you remake it? I mean, the original is good. Why would you mess around with it, really? But
well, it's not something where you can really bring a lot more to it by design. It's like you don't want to see
CGI at the time.
You don't want to see a version of Phone Booth where it's like jet setting across 3 continents. You've kind of got to stay on the phone.
I think a British version with a classic red British phone box, that would be good.
That would actually be pretty good, just because I'd imagine a sniper would have a right arsehole of a time trying to get through those.
Yeah, definitely.
Raw iron and like tiny little bars all the way
Exactly.
down. It'd have to be a much better shot than he is in that one.
Us getting a gun into Britain, that in theory would be harder. I don't know how much harder, but
Also, when William Friedkin didn't want to do Exorcist III, William Peter Blatty then offered it to John Carpenter. But John Carpenter realised that William Peter Blatty clearly wanted to direct it, so he just said, why don't you do it?
Yeah.
See, that's quite nice.
Mind you, it might also be The Poison Chalice. It's like, so you've got this, the horror film of all time, the greatest horror film of all time. The second sequel, people regularly poo on it in the street. And you want me to do the third one? No, you're all right, mate. You do it. You'll make it good. You'll do it good. So,
but he did.
He did. He really fucking did. And I have to say, I just think it's a shame he hasn't done more stuff. I think, literally, I can only think of like Ninth Configuration and this. I think they're the only films that he's listed as. Obviously, he's written other stuff, and I believe he's written like other screenplays and stuff like that. He's written a lot more books. But and actually, The Exorcist as a book is really, really good. It's as good as the film in those terms. The way the film is great as a film, the book is as good as a book.
Yeah.
Also, they interestingly, they don't film Reagan's house at the top of the stairs. You see the stairs at the start.
Yeah.
But they framed it so that because in Exorcist 2, the house gets burnt down, I think, or it gets destroyed in some way.
Yeah.
And so, although there's no reference to Exorcist 2 whatsoever in this, he kind of still didn't want
the
to
continuation
just
of
piss over it, you know what I mean? And sort of like, because it is, I suppose it's like, it's a completely different set of characters. It's not the circumstances of Legion. So he just filmed it so you couldn't see the house. So technically it doesn't actually contradict
anything
from Exorcist 2. So it's not like he hasn't done the sort of the whatever, like the recent Halloween where it's like, right, all the other Halloweens are not, they're not real, and this is directly a follow-on from that very first original. So he hasn't done like a reboot in that sense or anything like that.
Excellent. Nice. Right. So I think we should probably wrap it up there.
I've just got a shout out to Philip on the email. It says, "Hello, I had some more suggestions, which are From Beyond the Grave, The Uncanny, Tales from the Dark Side, the movie."
No, hang on, sorry. I have to stop there. It's The Uncanny.
The Uncanny.
Mispronounces it, so we are continuing this.
But The Uncanny, definitely, because it has loads of cats in it. I love it.
Well, can I just say, and this is because I know that Lee, I apologise, Lee, because I know I do it to you every birthday, but this year I want to watch The Uncanny for my birthday. That's my birthday choice this year.
And that is fair. That is Adam's birthday coming up. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it'll help Philip. Is that Black Philip of the goat variety? Or
I don't know. You didn't let him finish it.
I didn't. Sorry, carry on.
Technically,
where did I get to? Hold on. The Uncanny. See, I'm learning.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. The House That Dripped Blood. Tales from the Hood, which are anthologies. And then some non-anthologies are Return of the Living Dead, Lucio Fulci's.
Him again. Yeah.
Yeah. Zombie, The Beyond, Let Sleeping Corpses Lie, and Mario Bava's Blood and Black Lace.
Which I've never seen, actually.
Maybe you could do like a cultural one where you watch, other culture stuffs.
We've definitely got to do some Jake horror at some point, though. Definitely.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. So in that case, we shall do Dracula bonus as the next episode.
So wait, why is that a bonus?
Because it's short.
Because we've probably got a lot to say about it, but not. Yeah. It's going to extend this by 40 minutes, and it's already long.
No. So I meant, why is it not just a normal episode?
Because it's a bonus, I don't know.
Yeah. Make it bonus.
What makes a bonus a bonus? But also, do we need to watch because it's an episodic, isn't it?
Well, bonus is that presumably if it's a bonus, it doesn't come out on the normal feed. It's an extra episode, so we'll have to. So it'll be an additional. So next time we.
Yes.
So what we'll do is we'll meet up and record that, and we'll do 40 minutes or whatever, just as a short.
And then The Uncanny.
And then we'll do The Uncanny as the next full episode. Back to some classics. So I love a bit of anthology
classic
horror.
What's his name? Classic Vincent Price? Is the other one?
No, classic Cushion.
But also,
Cushion for the Cushion.
Cushion. I've got a cushion over there.
Also, is one of my favourite of that period. Ooh. So I would be very keen to cover that as well at some point. So thank you very much for your email, Philip. That's all good.
I would just to finish off here. The last of the film, Exorcist III. Did anyone else notice the calendar pose with the priests? Chris, you might remember. You might remember the calendar poses we did at someone's wedding.
Yeah.
So at the very end, literally, the priests are all standing there. One of them's like this. One of them's like this.
Yeah.
It's very, very priests, sexy priests 1990.
I think it might be the funeral or somewhere. Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 of them, and they're all stood together, like on the sunset with a very
Ooh.
Yeah.
If you didn't catch that, go back and just watch that last.
Speaking of model shots, did you spot Fabio in the dream sequence?
No.
The model Fabio, the muscly haired, vaguely equine looking man.
Do you know him?
Yes. He's an angel in the dream sequence. And Samuel L. Jackson's in the dream sequence as well, but he is dubbed. And Claire said, "Why would you dub Samuel L. Jackson?" And I said, "Because it was 1990 and no one knew who he was."
Yeah.
So
since then, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's done well. He has done well for himself. Bless him.
He's still of an actor. I dub him and everything sucks. I've said this before on record.
I've also got to mention that the I believe speech, you know, the I believe in death and etc.
Oh yes, yeah.
That was sampled by a really good band called 3 and 9 on the start of their song Pressure Chamber.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it 3 and 9?
3 and 9. They
I've
were
heard of
good.
them. They was the 90s, weren't they?
They
were
were
the 2000s.
It was the 2000s. They were cracking though. If you like acid and therapy, go and see them.
Yeah.
Except you can't.
No.
Because they all went off and had kids.
For the benefit of the listeners, it was a band which Adam and previous
listener
attendant Dr. Dean were in.
And previous attendant Drew.
Yeah.
Oh, and Drew as well, yeah. And Bust.
Yeah, they were there.
Yeah. So, yeah. Good times.
Sorry, I had to just sling that in there because, well, I wasn't going to blow my own trumpet, but I thought I'd at least let you know I had a trumpet.
Hey. To your trumpet, Adam. To your trumpet.
Yeah.
Hey.
Thank you.
Right.
One last thing, sorry.
Oh, it's still going. Yeah.
The woman who's the nurse, who turns up with the ridiculously big scissors.
Yes.
She is in a she's in a TV series called Frankenstein's Aunt. Listen to this synopsis. Aunt Frankenstein arrives to her nephew's castle to set things right and clean the family name. Could she hope to work out the consensus between the angry villagers and the castle's supernatural inhabitants? Ooh. And she plays Hannah Frankenstein, who is meant to be Dr. Frankenstein's aunt. 7 episodes from 1987. It's got a Dracula in it. It's got a werewolf in it. It's got It sounds right up your street, mate.
I'm watching the crap out of that.
Yeah. So Frankenstein's aunt. Now make sure you spell aunt right, otherwise you get a whole set of different references.
Oh, all right. Tomorrow we are out briefly at Horror to watch one of their films called
Derailed. We are unable, unfortunately, to make it this year due to scheduling. We're not all able to get together to go for a day, unfortunately. As much as we'd love to, there's some fantastic stuff on, as we mentioned in a preamble.
But by the time you listen to this, it'll just be the Sunday, and it will be pretty much over. Yes, but
we're going to see Derailed tomorrow at Horror on Sea, featuring Lance Henriksen. It's great for what we've seen from the trailer, so we're not spoiling it because it's only what's in the trailer. It's a train for a murder mystery,
Orient Express style.
Some people get on to try and rob it. The train comes off the rails and falls into a river or lake or
I hope there's a moment when they go, oh my God, the train has been derailed.
Pretty sure they
I'm
will.
looking out for that bit.
And some kind of Gilman type terrible sea monster gets on board and starts killing the people and the robbers.
It looks fucking amazing.
It looks batshit.
As long as there's no sharks, I'll be fine.
Sharks. Excellent.
But we'll enjoy it, and your homework is we will want a bonus episode on that as well.
Yes. We could talk on that and Dracula. You could add that in.
Yeah. Right. Blue Steel. Right. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Cheers. Dry January. I've not cried. I'm doing really good.
Well done, sir.
So thanks so much for listening. Message below on SoundCloud or on YouTube. Don't forget to email us at info@welcometohorror.com if anyone is still checking that email address. Alternatively, hashtag ask welcome to horror. What are you doing?
I want the mask.
Hashtag ask welcome to horror. And we will answer your questions. Your question will probably what the bloody hell was Jennifer.
I know, thanks. This is good, isn't
Oh, it's just like the wedding photos.
I might go to work on Monday like this.
No,
I think you should wear that tomorrow.
Yes.
Why?
Because it's
Right,
January,
Southend.
it's Southend. It'll be fucking bitter.
Exactly.
Wear it.
Yeah.
Oh, me off. It's in the wrong way.
Right. Anyway, thanks ever so much. And yeah, we'll see you all for the bonus episode of Dracula. Night.
Excellent.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
I'm waving. I like this.